Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I do have a few new things, at least new things to the channel that I want to talk to you all about and review. I have the Hyperx Pulsefire Haste, I have the Razer Huntsman Mini analog, and Vissles did send me the Vissles 84. And the reason why I'm talking about the Vissles 84 along with the Razer Huntsman Mini analog is to just kind of talk about price point entries and the difference in sound, the difference in feel between the two. Something from a company that a lot of us might not have heard of, and a company that is a very big gaming named brand. I want to talk about the mouse first, and one of the biggest talking points is definitely the fact that this thing has a 3335 sensor, and that is definitely going to scare off a number of people. And I want to address the elephant in the room first. Does it affect gameplay? I honestly can say that I would not know if this was a 3335 or a 3370 unless you told me. I will throw up gameplay clips on the left, but you can see I did not have an issue with my Apex gameplay on the Pulsefire Haste. I also didn't notice a difference in something like Valorant. The mouse performed fairly well, swapping between this and the G Pro Superlight or the Orochi or the Viper Ultimate or a Final Mouse. I did not notice much of a difference in my gameplay. It really boils down to whether or not this particular shape is comfortable for you, and if it is, it could potentially be a main mouse for you. I would have liked to have seen the mouse a little bit less expensive after tax, especially considering the fact that the 3395 sensor is going to be releasing soon on the likes of the XM1 wireless as well as the new Pulsar mice. So with a flagship mouse like the Pulsefire Haste, I would have liked to have seen a little bit of an upgrade on the sensor, but I can say that as far as performance goes, I really don't think it's that much of an issue. I would say for me, the thing that affected my gameplay the most on the Pulsefire Haste are the absolutely horrific default skates. I think these PTFE skates are very akin to something that we would see on something like the likes of an HK gaming mouse. You can see that there are hexagon cutouts on the bottom of the mouse. It does shed quite a bit of weight on the mouse. But the default skates, again, kind of keep in mind that when you buy this mouse, you're probably going to want to upgrade the skates, so keep that price budget in mind. You can see I added the Model O Pulsar glass skates on this. With the glass skates, the mouse performed phenomenally. I thought it felt very, very, very good as far as performance goes. And one of the reasons why is that 62-gram weight and that very, very well weight balanced mouse. The weight is very well distributed throughout the entirety of the mouse, and it makes it feel very, very enjoyable. You know, you can get a light mouse, but if all the weight is too far distributed at the front or the bottom, it generally tends to throw off the feel of the mouse and just doesn't make for an enjoyable experience. The weight balance in the Pulsefire Haste is very, very good. Getting into the overall build quality, the mouse does not creak. It doesn't budge in any direction that I push or pull. As far as Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, there is quite a bit of side flex on Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, but not something I felt in game because probably the plastic is actually kind of on the thinner side for Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. As far as pre and post travel, I have a little bit of pre-travel and a little bit of post-travel. The switches are TTC Golds. They are very, very tactile, very, very crispy on Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. Mouse 4 and Mouse 5 are very, very thin, but post-travel is very well managed, and pre-travel is barely anything. So all of the switches actually do feel quite good on the Pulsefire Haste. I would say the only downside for me is the feel of the scroll wheel scrolling up and down. It's very, very faint. It's not something that is very, very tactile. And if you do use your scroll wheel quite a lot, it just leaves a little bit to be desired as far as tactility and a tactile response. I would say the mouse most comparable to the Pulsefire Haste is the Razer Viper Ultimate. The weight really doesn't feel far off in the hand. The Pulsefire Haste weight and weight distribution does feel better than the Viper Ultimate. The scroll wheel feels better on the Viper Ultimate. The side buttons feel better for me on the Pulsefire Haste. I like that they are a little bit more protruded. And the switches in Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 are actually rather comparable. I would go either way on any given day with the TTC Golds or the Razer optical switches. I think both feel great. For me, the shape feels a little bit better on the Pulsefire Haste. I like that the hump rounds out a little bit more compared to the Viper Ultimate with this little midsection here. It feels a little bit better in the hand for me shape-wise and just a tad bit wider. towards the area where your thumb rests, which for me definitely adds a level of comfort. So really, I do think that the Pulsefire Haste is a good package at its price point. It is, again, very awkward that for a flagship wireless mouse for a particular gaming brand, a gaming company, to use a $33.35 in today's market with the $33.95 around the corner. But it is a pretty good package. If we saw it go on sale, it could be an absolute steal. I mean, if this thing goes on sale for like 60 bucks, I would not pass up the mouse. Again, the coating feels pretty good. The weight distribution feel great. The sensor performance is perfectly fine. I had absolutely no issues in game. And again, it is a comparable mouse to the Viper Ultimate, and in my opinion, a little bit more comfortable and something that performed very well for me when I swapped to the Glass Gates. So I want to do the Vissles and the Razer Huntsman Mini in the same segment because I want to give you a sound test from a brand many of us haven't heard of, Vissles compared to Razer. And now this is Razer's billionth iteration of the Huntsman Mini. We have seen, different switches, different this, different that. And overall, the Huntsman Mini's case just remains the same. It's a very underwhelming. It is paper light and just doesn't feel like a high-class premium metal board, which you would think it would for a price point of $150. You can see that the Vissles 84 is hot swappable. The Razer is not. The Razer is utilizing their proprietary analog switches that just feel and sound absolutely horrendous. It is like literally typing on a 1980s typewriter and feels absolutely horrible. I don't know who at the design team thought this would be okay, but I honestly am apologizing to anybody who actually paid $150 expecting a premium board that felt like $150 because this is not it. Now, what is great about the Razer Huntsman Mini analog? The performance is phenomenal. You can set each one of these switches to a different actuation point between 3.6 millimeters and I think 1.5. And that's great because if you're accidentally key pressing something in game, you can avoid that by increasing the actuation point of, let's say, your spacebar if you're accidentally hitting jump in game. But the Vissles 84 is hot swappable at $110. It has Bluetooth functionality, can connect to different devices. You can use it on different devices other than just a PC. And again, you can change those switches to anything that feels good for you that you are not accidentally activating in game or what have you. And the stabilizers and the keys feel insanely different. The chatter on the Razer Huntsman Mini is absolutely just sounds... What were they thinking? Now, Vissles 84 did send me this keyboard. I am not going to tell you guys that I think this is the end-all be-all of gaming keyboards. I definitely don't. If you are looking for a gaming keyboard, I think the Hyperx Alloy Origin 60 is far superior to many of the keyboards on the market and is typically found on sale for less than $100, around $70 to $80. So if you're looking for a 60% board that is very good for gaming, I would definitely go that route. But again, if you're looking for a multi-device keyboard that you can use on several devices, the Vissles 84 does have that Bluetooth wireless capability and is quite good. It feels heavy, it feels premium. There's not a significant amount of ping. Certainly less than the Razer Huntsman Mini. And again, is hot swappable. So really, I don't think that the price entry point for the Vissles 84 is poor, and the layout is quite good if you are playing MOBAs or things like MMOs with that F-row. But, $110, a plastic frame compared to what is advertised as a full aluminum build, and those new proprietary switches and a new iteration of the Huntsman Mini. And it is just a night and day typing experience. It is a night and day gaming experience as far as how it sounds and how it feels. And I just don't notice that much of a performance gain going to even the lowest actuation point of 1.5 on the Huntsman Mini compared to just the standard default switches that the Vissles 84 came with. So guys, the Huntsman Mini is definitely not something that I would recommend. I think the overall package just feels very, very cheap. It is not an enjoyable experience to type on or use. And if you're looking for the joy of that analog movement with your joysticks, I just don't think the trade-off of going to this keyboard is worth it. I would much rather have a cheaper mechanical, good gaming keyboard and a controller to use when I'm looking for those joystick movements for single-player games. If you have multiple devices and you're looking for a solid keyboard to connect to all of them, the Vissles 84 with that wireless Bluetooth connectivity at $110 being hot swap with good PBT keycaps is actually a fairly good keyboard. Not something that I would personally main for gaming purposes. If you are looking strictly for a gaming keyboard, I would definitely recommend something else. But again, for that connectivity purpose, it is a good keyboard. Again, I would recommend a custom keyboard that you can customize to your own liking, something very premium feeling like the Keychron Q2. That's just my taste. That's what I like. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm hating on these keyboards. We just have very personal individual likes, and for me, it is not either of these two keyboards. Again, the Pulsefire Haste, do I hate it? Do I love it? I honestly think that this mouse is recommendable with a caveat. You have to be willing to replace those horrible default skates. I think the overall build quality on my copy was great. I think the general feeling of the mouse in-game with that 3335 was perfectly fine. I was absolutely able to play at my maximum level in Apex Legends. I would not shy away from this in ranked games just because it has a 3335. I think it boils down to that shape. And if you're looking for something variable to the Razer Viper Ultimate, something that feels similar but a little bit more comfortable depending on your hand size, the Pulsefire Haste could be a solid performing mouse for you. I hope that helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.